Redditors who have been bullied, have you ever run into said bully several years later? What was the encounter like? I was bullied by this massive guy when I was 15. He easily had a foot and 2 to 3 stone on me. Went on for about a year and then kind of fizzled out. Nothing too harsh, just the occasional bloody nose. 5 years later I wander into a new hairdresser in town to get a standard trim, and here's the guy cutting hair. He was incredibly apologetic and explained how he'd been so confused and angry because he couldn't admit to himself that a massive tough guy like him could be gay and want to be a hairdresser. He had the final laugh though as he offered me free highlights to make up for things, and I looked like a tool for the next 7 weeks. 3rd through 6th grade this punk made my life hell. That fat bastard Lenny had a gang even. Fast forward to just after college, making real money for the first time. I go to a shop to buy a high-end sound upgrade for my new car, and Hodano is there. Shitty shirt and tie and all. Salesman shuffles up to me and I say, "Hiya, Lenny. I'm here to buy, but not from you." I walked over to another salesman and requested his assistance instead. I spent over twice as much as I intended to, sort of my version of both middle fingers in the air. The look of hatred on his face as I pulled out the credit card made 8-year-old me very content. Worth it. A girl and her clique bullied me quite badly when I was younger, and at the time I resented it a great deal. 10 years later she added me on Facebook out of the blue, and we actually had a really nice conversation about our lives and what we were up to these days. She somehow turned into a pretty decent person, and the unpleasant past was not mentioned once by either of us. I have never really been good at holding grudges, and I do believe that people often grow into someone very different than who they once were. Not to make light of bullying, but a lot of the time children have no idea of the damage that they do, and are the victims of awful parenting, such as poor discipline, themselves. Sorry, I know you guys would prefer something more juicy than this, and I'm sure some people stay assholes for their entire lives. I saw a bully from middle school in my local ShopRite. He had a lot of problems. His mom had a heart attack, and he had a car accident and suffered serious back injuries. When I first recognized him, I exclaimed, "I remember you. You were such an asshole to me in middle school." We laughed, and he told me the above. He apologized for acting like he did. He said something about this stuff happening to him because of how he treated me, but I was nice, and I denied it. Was bullied for about 10 years, 5 years of those by a guy we'll call Kenny for now. I had switched school and was doing much better and actually had some good friends. About 4 years after I had last seen him, there was a volleyball tournament between different schools, and his apparently was one of the competing teams, as was mine. And so it turned out, we matched against each other. The moment he saw me, he shouted, "Oh, that's Mrjeza, we're definitely going to win now." What he apparently didn't know was that in those 4 years he hadn't seen me, I had changed from a small and skinny guy into a 6'2", 165 pounds guy with a 124 miles per hour tennis serve. The first time I saw his face again, all the memories came back to me, and for a bit, I was scared again, until one of my friends told me, after I had explained who Kenny was, that I was now taller and stronger than him, and that it was time for some revenge. Every time I had the opportunity to smash a ball when standing at the net, I would aim for him. The 124 miles per hour tennis serve meant that I had an incredibly strong smash as well, which terrified him. My team ended up winning the match, after which I shouted, "Hey Kenny, I thought you were so sure you were going to win." That one sentence, that one time of getting back at him was enough to make him snap. He went berserk and stormed for me in a fit of rage. Bring on that 124 miles per hour serve again, and that moment right there was the first person I ever punched someone. And also the first time I saw someone go KO. All it took was one hit, and it was all over. All the fear, the years of tormenting, they were all over. Now I would like to say, I don't like fighting, and haven't punched anyone since said punch, but when people say violence is not a solution, bullshit. Yes it is. It's the only way to let go of all those memories. After years of being used as a punching bag, simply saying "yeah we are okay" does not do the job. It simply doesn't. TL. Doctor, revenge 4 years of tormenting. I'm the opposite. I was the bully. I was a completely different person in middle/high school, angry at my parents and such. I wasn't a huge stuff you in a locker type of bully. I never hit anyone and never made them cough up their lunch money. But I did take every opportunity I could to verbally assault some people. I realized as I got out into the real world and became a father just how much what I'd said hurt others. One of the victims of my diarrhea speech is a good friend of mine now. And any others, when I see them, I go out of my way to take them aside and apologize for the way I treated them so long ago. I know it was wrong, and I can't take it back. But I always tell them that I'm deeply sorry, and that I'm nothing like I used to be now. Mine's kinda sad. I was bullied by this kid in high school pretty often. I was small, he was big, and in his mind, that was all it took to mean I was worth tormenting. I constantly just went with the non-reaction technique. I avoided most of the problems this way compared to others he bullied simply because no reaction from me meant no fun for him. But I watched him do the same to my friends who reacted more strongly, and because I was with them, I was just kinda on his radar until eventually I transferred schools. Flash forward to 2 years ago, it's 10 years later. I'm successful, independent, healthy, and happy. I'm working in my hometown now. We get a patient found down out in the bushes, and I'm asked to see him. It's this dude. He's looking kinda rough, puked on himself, covered in leaves, but still huge. I don't miss a beat. Vitals, line, labs, fluids, everything you would do given the situation. Hours later he's sobering up, we're talking about his situation, and he stops, and just stares at me mid-sentence. Oh, I remember you now. Cue me thinking great. Thought we weren't gonna bring this up. But then he went on, man, I'm so sorry for how I treated you in high school. I was a horrible person. There is no excuse. But I really want you to know I regret who I was, and I'm not that person anymore. Well, my jaw basically hit the floor. It gave me a lot of hope for people to change. I'm glad he had a chance to, but his alcohol addiction was probably now covering the same pains that caused him to be such a broken person a decade before. 3 months later he came in again as my patient, this time because he choked on his own vomit. He never woke up. This one guy at my school was a real piece of work. He wasn't the brightest, but he was big and beefy looking, and could easily intimidate you. One time, he tried to take advantage of my mom on prom night after weeks of hassling her. I got my revenge though. My dad punched him, and I took his wallet. I also made him crash his car into a manure truck, twice. We're better off now though. He comes over to wax our cars sometimes. I don't think I'll ever be able to forget him calling me a butthead all those times, though. In middle school I was absolutely tormented by this girl. She spread nasty rumors, manipulated other girls against me, did the whole cold shoulder refuse to acknowledge and ostracize deal. Eventually led to a host of social anxiety and insecurities that took a long time to recover from. Years later, I ran into her at a coffee shop. I was the one to approach her, not aggressively, but it felt amazing to be the one in power. I spoke positively and congratulated her on getting into a great school. It felt great to be the better person, and it was obvious that she was hella uncomfortable and nervous to be around me. Plus, she had developed a wicked unibrow. I used to get made fun of in grade school for my clothes and shoes because my parents couldn't afford to buy me anything new. There was one guy, Miguel, who was the worst about it. Around this time last year I went to a McDonald's and saw him behind the register. I had just gotten freelance work, which could potentially lead to getting hired at a company I really liked. He didn't recognize me, but I definitely knew it was him, especially because of his name tag. I didn't confront him or anything, because it was years ago, and we were kids, but I thought it was interesting how different our lives were. Not too interesting, but something I'll never forget. This girl I knew in high school never bullied me, but she pretty much bullied everyone else including my friends. She was really popular and talkative. Very stuck up though. I remember she had perfect bleach blonde hair and perfect skin. She would always wear her cheerleading outfit, and she was constantly doing cartwheels and backflips. Very energetic. Even though she could be a huge bitch, she had a certain glow about her, and she seemed very happy. Anyways, I winded up dropping out of school and completely forget about this girl. 6 years later I'm walking down a bad neighborhood late at night to get some food at the gas station. I see her with some scummy looking guy staring at a red box machine. I stopped for a second when I saw her. Her hair looked unwashed. It was a dull brown. Her skin looked awful, and she was in jeans and an oversized sweater. What really struck me was the look on her face. She looked miserable. And I knew it was her. The guy she was with even said her name. I was just shocked at how miserable she seemed. I kind of feel bad for her. It was like her prime years were already over. It was just really weird seeing, and I think about it sometimes. I can't really explain why though. Edit. I just remembered one more. This girl bullied me all throughout middle and high school. Always picking on me, and it seemed like it was just me. Girl was popular and rich. Always made fun of me for being poor. Anyways, when I was 18 I was going through a rough time living by myself. I'd go to the food bank on occasion. One day I'm standing in line and this girl who is directly behind me starts talking to me like she knows me. I look at her and have no idea who this girl is. She starts talking about high school and how she hated that place. Then it finally dawns on me, it's this chick that bullied me for years. I have no idea what to say to her, so she is doing all the talking, and I'm just kind of shocked. This girl who made fun of me for being poor is standing in line at the food bank and talking to me. She winds up leaving with this old looking guy with no teeth in an old beat up truck. It was weird, that's for sure. I wasn't popular in high school, but in college I sort of blossomed, and I'm actually attractive, not to sound conceited. It took some getting used to. I was still in the ugly girl mindset. Visiting my hometown, I saw the popular girl from high school that used to tease me about boys not liking me. She was in line at the store and looked terrible. Overweight, tired. She looked like an adult, like a mom, but not a happy one. I couldn't believe we were the same age. I guess I'm an adult technically, but I don't really feel like it. I checked out her Facebook. Turns out she's divorced with 2 kids from different guys, and she works at a paycheck loan place. I was scrawny and was picked on in elementary school until 5th grade, when I grew way bigger than the kid that always had something to say. He didn't leave me alone right away though. He tried to push me in the cafeteria one day, which resulted in him being thrown over a table with his face breaking his fall. Never got bullied from anyone after that. I had a bully in elementary/middle school. He continued to be in my classes until senior year of high school. During this time, he reined back on the bullying and just turned into your run-of-the-mill asshole. Last day of senior year, he asked me to sign his yearbook, which I thought was odd given our past. I wrote this long diatribe in his yearbook, paraphrased something like, "Dear, remember when you were my friend and then you turned into my bully in middle school? You'll be happy to know that you're not a bully so much as a dick now. I can't really stand to be around you. Have a good life." The Florence. The kicker is that he went to my college. We ran into each other on campus once or twice and it was always super awkward because he was really civil, and I can only think about the yearbook and wonder why he's being really civil to me. I was bullied by this mean girl all through elementary and middle school. Senior year of high school we had a mutual friend and were sitting at the same lunch table. I had just broken up with my boyfriend of 5 years and she asked me about it. She then told me that I was too good for him and he didn't deserve me. It felt really good. No animosity towards her ever again. There was a kid in high school who wasn't much of a cool kid himself. Oh my god, he was beyond anim nerd, but he had a nasty habit of playfully hitting people, me especially. One day in biology he hit me in the wrong spot in my stomach, causing me to lose my breath and stumble back onto the girl I had a huge crush on. When I turned around he was picking up a stool to further screw around, so I grabbed the stool and punched him right in the face. It was so sudden that nobody even noticed, and he just put his head down for the rest of class. Didn't put his hands on anybody after that, and we've been friends since. I didn't talk to him much after we graduated, and I just learned he's going into the military. IDK what branch? He died of an overdose 3 months after our class finished secondary school. Not that he finished on time with us, of course. He'd already been held back a year, then eventually he dropped out altogether. I was actually quite sad when he died. He was a dick, a drug dealer, and user, obviously, and he stole from me, but he was also a very troubled and tragic person, and as it turns out, he did some very good things as well. He talked friends out of panic attacks, and saved one girl from jumping out a 10-story window when she was drunk. All of this, I found out after his death.